I'm Tina McAndrew, the director of the Randall Public Library, and I'm here with Lisa Lavina, president of the Friends organization, to give you a tour of our beloved Randall Library. Right now we're standing in front of the historic library that was built in the 1800s, in front of what used to be the original entrance that was replaced with a window. We're going to now tour the inside of the 1800s library and follow through to the 1970s edition. So here I am standing inside of where Lisa and I started, which used to be the original entrance of the library. So right now I am standing in part of the original library, and I'm going to walk you through to one of the rooms. So this is what we call our meeting room, where we have lots of trustee meetings and friends meetings, and people are allowed to rent this space out. It's beautifully restored with community preservation monies approximately 5 years ago. And over here is the other part of the original library. We have 2 bathrooms on this floor. This is where our youth services librarian does her programming, and she has her desk. I would like to point out that while beautifully renovated, we still do have some structural defects up in the corner there. There's leaks from the roof that have been plaguing us for years.
Okay, so here we're on the Crescent Street side of the library building, and this is a great place to point out where the addition was put on to the original historic building. Here we have the historic building, 1880s vintage, and then this is the new part that was added on. And what you'll see later on is the angled windows that were added to the building in 1975. From this angle, you can see the new windows that were added to the original structure as part of the 1975 addition. Those would be removed during the renovation process, and the bricked up windows that you see to the left, the bricks will be removed, new windows will be installed, bringing a lot of light to the second floor space of the original library. So here we are in the Whitney Room. So the money to add this to the original building, which happened about 20 years after the first part of the library was built, came from the Whitney family. And over here on this wall is where those windows that I pointed out from the outside, those will be opened up and bring a lot more light into this space and making it feel as vibrant as it did back in the day. What you can see through these windows is both that angled window addition and the tarp that has been installed in order to prevent the water that's leaking through those windows from draining down onto the books. Those angled windows will be removed, again, also really brightening up this space, making it feel more like it did when the building was created.
Here I am standing outside on the patio of the second floor. I am in front of the turret of the original building, and I'm actually standing on concrete that covers up the first floor of the turret, which is currently the director's office, which you will be seeing later on in this film. This patio would be eliminated in an effort to reduce the slope to the second floor and make it more accessible for entry. As you can see over here, there's quite a sloping ramp with handrails to access the second floor, and our hope is to reduce the slope back to what it used to be originally to allow for a flatter, more usable outdoor space for gatherings. So here I am in the Hale reference room. The reference materials for the library, including print and digital materials, are funded by our Hale Trust, which has graciously supported the library for decades. Currently in this room we have severe roof leaks. Also, there's a leak behind us that drips on the newspapers. So one of the challenges that is most significant for us at Randall right now is the roof leaking, because when it rains outside, it rains inside. As we mentioned earlier, the tarp in the children's room, unfortunately here that's not a viable option. So when it rains, we put buckets out, and we just really need to keep on top of the bad weather. Another really important part of this renovation process is not about the structure itself, it's about the usable spaces of the library. And currently in this space, we have a very large open area where not many people can sit at once if they want to have a private conversation. It's not a quiet study space. It's very loud. And as you can see, going toward the first floor, this is all open and the voices carry. So whether you're sitting up here on the second floor or downstairs, you can really hear everything that's going on. And one of the goals of the new library would be to create quiet space so that we could have loud programs going on at the same time as people wanted to study. And another thing we really want is a usable elevator. We currently have a lift over here to my right, and while usable, it's just not as safe as a new elevator would be. I'm standing on Common Road in front of the first floor of the library, and I wanted to mention this brick facade is covering up the original turret that I spoke of when I was on the patio. And our hope in the renovation, as I said, is to decrease this slope and make both floors of the library more accessible to patrons. In order to visit the library, patrons park on Common Road. Currently, it's a two-way street with busy traffic and no sidewalk. So people that would like to visit the library have to walk in the street to access the stairs. And those that want to use the ramp have to move even farther up the road to the corner of Library Hill and Common Road and use the ramp to access the first floor or the second floor. So this is the director's office, which, as I mentioned, is the bottom level of the original turret of the 1800s library. As decades passed, heating was added, mini split is there, and if you can see in the corner, that is the entire technology for the library. This is the technology for the library. Again, as time has passed and technology has changed, our hope is to have a much better technology infrastructure for all staff and patrons. So I'm standing in what we call the workroom / storage room / lunchroom. As you will see later, Randall has maybe 2 closets, and so we use this space as a place for staff to eat, as well as store our materials and for staff to put their belongings when they come in for work. We were able to close up our original book drop and buy an outdoor one, which allowed us to have a little bit additional space for our Library of Things collection. But as you can see, it's pretty small, and we try to make do with the little space that we have. So currently I'm standing in the circulation area. We have 2 computers and very limited space with our hold shelves. So our goal with the renovation, again, is not just about the structure, it's about providing staff with better workable space for them to do their work. And so right now we have 1 long circulation desk and all of our carts really in a condensed small space, and our goal would be to provide a better working area for our staff. Another structural challenge that hit us in 2021 was first floor leaking. Up here we had the plaster peel off and it was pouring down. We used to have books here, which fortunately we took away that part of it so they don't get affected anymore. But this is where the 1800s original library meets the 1970s edition. And there's some structural damage there that makes it rain to the first floor. Here we are in the children's room. Currently, all of our books, not only in the children's room, but for the adult collection and YA collection, are housed on the first floor due to load-bearing issues on the second floor. So part of the renovation will entail providing better structure for the second floor to hold all of the books that we have. One thing I will point out, which we talked about when we were outside, is the tarp that we had to put in. These are our sloping windows that we've discussed with you earlier. And thankfully, the building department was gracious enough to come in and put this tarp because otherwise it was raining all over this room. So with this tarp, the water actually funnels, and when it rains, it will go into a bucket rather than destroying the library room. Another part of the 1970s addition was this amphitheater. Unfortunately, it's not very well used, it's not safe. So part of the renovation would be to eliminate this, as we said again, and making more usable space outside. Again, you can see the grade going up. Our hope is that it would be much flatter so that people could actually go out and safely use the Randall land. This is our current mechanical space that houses our boiler, and as you can see, it's very outdated, and as I mentioned earlier, we don't have a lot of storage in the library, so it is also a place for our custodian to leave his materials and anything else that we might need to house. It is in desperate need of updating. One of the main goals of the library renovation project is to update all of these systems to get up to code. So I'm standing in the young adult section. Staff worked feverishly during our closure during the COVID pandemic to create this space. We really want to embrace the young adults of Stow to come here and do homework, hang out, play with the Oculus, play video games. And so we created this space, as I said. Unfortunately, we don't have any enclosed space in Randall. So part of the project would be, again, not only to create quiet space, but to create space for all of our community. That would include a children's room enclosed, a young adult area enclosed, a periodical study area. And so right now, this is what we do. It is loud, but we embrace it. And we hope that with the renovation, we can continue to serve all of our patrons uniquely. Currently, our challenge in the young adult area is leaks around the window frames. As you can see, there's rust at the top and at the bottom as well. It's leaking windows. So again, this has to do with the structural deficits of the older 1970s edition. Here on the first floor in the fiction section, you can see additional water damage from the 1970s edition.
So right now we're looking at the biggest part of the 1970s edition, and this is a part of the library that people don't really get to see very much because of the overgrowth, the trees, and typically the cars that are parked here. The 1970s edition would be removed from the historic building, and the facade would be straight all the way out here to the street. A plaza in this area would be created, and it would go around the corner of the building, providing a walkway, a safe walkway up to the entrance of the building so patrons wouldn't have to walk in the street anymore.